Hello everyone, this is Felix from GMWolf. Today we're looking at creating an inventory. So we're going to start off with this very simple project I have right here, where what we have is just two progress bars over here and a simple moving player that can move up, down, left, and right. Now, as it is set up right now, the first red health bar actually is, well, the player's health, and the second one will be his mana. So if we open up our player object, let's look at what I have right now. It is really quite simple. In the create event, I define his health, HP, to be set to 50, his maximum health at 100. Here we have MP being his mana points, set to 50 again, and the maximum value of that being set to 100. In the step event, I have some very simple movement code, which we're not going to worry about. And inside the draw GUI event, I simply have two draw health bar functions that will draw the HP and the MP variable. So now it's not quite important what we're doing with the player, because what we're going to do is create a new object in order to deal with our inventory. Now, before we create this object, I want to show off a few sprites I created that we're going to need. The first one is SPR slot, which is going to be the sprites that we use as a background to the slots in our inventory, because as well as creating the inventory system, we also want to create the graphical, the UI aspect of it. Next, I have this health potion sprite, so I can show it off. It just looks like a normal health potion. And I have three identical sprites which only have the color changing for the mana potion and a poison. Lastly, I have the SPR item rock sprite, which is the sprite for a rock item. I obviously also have the player sprite that you already saw in the current project. So now that we have all of these set up, we can start creating a new object. So I'm just going to call this one obj_inventory. Here you go. So first of all, we want to define a few variables. The way we're going to deal with our inventory is by having separate functions, scripts actually, to define what the different items do. And we're going to store all of these in a large array. Now, in order to store things in an array, we need indexes. So the first item may contain, or the first item may represent the health potion, for example. However, inside our array, this will be stored as 1, and we're not quite sure what this means. So what we're going to use is called something using enumerator, an enum, which is basically a data structure. So we're going to do enum items, and then we need to start going like so. And we're going to have our first item be health_potion. And we're going to be equaling that to, we don't need to actually name them. Next we have, sorry, that's not supposed to be here, mana potion. And poison. And lastly, rock. Now, if you're not familiar with how enumerators work, basically they allow you to store values in kind of your own kind of custom data representation. So, for example, right now, health potion will store the value of 0, mana potion value of 1, poison value of 2, and rock a value of 3. You can of course set your own values by putting is equal to 5, etc. Now you may ask, why not just use variables? One of the reasons is that enumerators are more standard in different, for this kind of job in other languages due to their efficiency. Now, this is not necessarily true in GameMaker. I'm not quite sure what the situation with that is because of the way GameMaker handles stuff, but it is a much better practice to use them in that way. The other advantage is that in order to access them, you have to use this name over here, items, which means you could have multiple enumerators with different, well, with the same names inside but different values, which is also really quite useful. It also makes it clear what you're referring to. For example, if I'm saying health potion, I'm not sure if I'm referring to the sprite or whatever. It's just a lot neater that way. there are quite a few errors I've seen on the GMC, for example, when people are using enums, and that's because you're supposed to use this comma between each of those variables over here. Now what we want to do, now that we defined our first four items, is to define variables for them. So let's create our first, the way we're going to handle this is by inside our inventory storing one of these numbers, but we're going to need to display these, etc. So we need to know what sprite they have, for example. So our first array will be the sprite array. So we're going to call it sprite, and we're going to make sure it's canary, and we're going to go items dot health underscore potion, and we're going to make it equal to spr underscore item underscore health potion. So what we're doing here is simply creating an array and called sprite and storing SPR item health potion in the index of items.healthpotion. Now we're just going to copy this, paste it 3 more times because we have 3 more items. So sprite of the mana potion, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to have an underscore over here to be consistent. So items.mana potion will contain SPR item mana potion. Next, sprites items dot this time poison, so that's will contain SPR item poison. And finally, items.rock will contain SPR items rock. So this is it for our first basic variables that we're going to store. Later on in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to store more data in a very similar way and how to use it differently. But this is it for this section. So now what we have to do is first of all call this section of code. So this is going to be define underscore, no need for underscore actually, just define items. Now we're going to drag in another code block. And this one is actually going to be initialize and inventory. So what we need here is, for example, an array, because what we are going to have is a bunch of different inventory slots. And if I bring up OneNote quickly, like so, what we want to have, if I quickly draw on a simple grid, like so. So this may be our inventory with a bunch of slots like so. What we want to do is, store items within each of these slots, and in order to do so, we're going to be using an array. And because we don't really want to be using a 2-dimensional array, because they tend to take up more memory, etc. And we can easily get away with a single-dimensional array simply by numbering these in this fashion. So we start going across and going down for every time we reach the end of our line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, next line 5, 6, 7, 8, next line 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. So this is how we're going to be numbering our grid. And so what we're going to do is first of all define the size of our inventory. So slot underscore number is going to be equal. Let's say we want it to be, well, just exactly what we had here. So we want to have 4 across, 5 down, which gives us 20 slots, I believe. Next, we want to define the height. So actually just the width. So inventory width is going to be equal to 4. And we don't really need to define the height because we already know how many slots we have, so and the width as well, so we can easily find out what the height is later. What we need to do now is initialize our array. So we're going to go we're going to use a for loop to go through all of our items and set them to, well, nothing. So for I is equal to 0, actually, sorry, for var I is equal to 0, because we don't want to store I for more than this for loop. I is smaller than slot underscore number. I++ to increment it. We're going to say that slot, open brackets, I, close square brackets, is equal to no one. Now, the reason why I'm using no one here and not 0, for example, is that using our enum over here, health potion may be assigned the value 0. I'm not quite sure how it does it at the moment, but even if it does assign the value of 1, we don't have any guarantee that in the future, a future version of GameMaker will not assign the value 0 for the first enum. This is something you may want to check if you really do want to use the value 0 over here. But just to be safe, I'm going to use no one, which stores -4, I believe. I could also write -4 if I wanted to. But no one is normally used to represent nothing in GameMaker. So here you go. Now, we do want to populate a few slots in our inventory to make sure it works. So I'm going to say that the first slot over here, slot 0, will contain a mana potion. So items.mana underscore potion. And maybe the second slot, so slot 1, will contain a rock. Items.rock. And let's say that slot number 5 also contains a rock. And maybe the, I don't know, 15th slot will contain a mana potion. Sorry, no, a health potion. Here you go. Now, what we want to be able to do is display our inventory. So we're going to go create an event, and we want drawer GUI, because it is a GUI element. We don't want to be dealing with views or anything. And we're going to drag in some code, call it drawer underscore, not even need for an underscore here, inventory. What we're going to have here is quite simply a nested for loop. So for I is small, for actually I is smaller than inventory underscore width. Actually, we can use a single for loop if we do this correctly and make things a little faster. So only do for var I is smaller than slot underscore number. For var I is equal to 0. Don't mind me whilst I do things wrong. I is smaller than slot number, I++. So we're using the same for loop as we had in the create event. And here we're simply going to go drawer. Actually, we're going to say that if I div inventory width is greater than inventory width. Something seems wrong. No, sorry, this is wrong. If I mod inventory width is greater than no, I was right. I'm getting confused between div and right and div and mod. If I divided by inventory width is greater than 0, so if actually I'm just realizing I am doing something slightly wrong. We don't need this if statement over here because we are comparing it to slot number. Sorry, I'm slightly changing the code I have prepared because I just thought of a much better way of doing so. What we're going to do is find out the x and y position that we want to draw our sprite in. So var xx is equal to I mod slot underscore inventory width and var yy is equal to I div inventory width. Next, we want to draw a sprite, so drawer underscore sprite spr underscore slot subimage of 0, and now we're going to do something which we should normally avoid doing, and it's hard coding values. However, you can change this in your project to use a proper method of finding the sprite's width, etc. But I'm just going to keep things short and use a hard-coded value of 32 and 32. So I'm going to do xx times 32, yy times 32. Now the problem with the setup I have here is that I am drawing everything in the top left corner. I want to move everything to the right, and I'm going to move it by, let's say, 500 pixels. So I'm going to do 500 plus xx times 32, yy times 32. If I press OK and place obj inventory inside this room, say that, what we should see is 20 slots being displayed on our screen. And of course we get an error somewhere because I don't know how to spell poison. So right over here, inside enums, I spelled poison wrongly, so everything else didn't work. Just have to correct this, press play, and we should get it to run. Here you go. And what we have over here is a small inventory. And we do have 20 slots, sorry, right over here. Now, it may look a little small, and it is a little small, I'm sorry. Just in case you can't see this properly on YouTube, I'll make it bigger. I'm going to change these values to 64 over here and do draw sprites underscore x. And I'm just going to go in and increase the x scale and y scale by 2. Now this you don't have to do at all on your game. I'm just doing this so that it is visible on YouTube. So this is not necessary to the game. All I did was simply increase these values to 64 and increase the x scale and y scale to 2. The rest I kept to the default values of 0, CYs, and 1. If I press play now, you should see it much clearer. Because I know sometimes with encoding and all, you get some pretty horrendous results. So here it is, we have our nice inventory. As you can see, 20 slots, 4 across, 5 down. Let's save this. Okay, however, you may have noticed we didn't see our items we defined in there. That's simply because we didn't add the coding yet. Now what we want to do is go if slot I is greater than no one, or actually is not equal to no one. So if we do have something in our inventory, we want to say drawer underscore sprite x. I'm going to copy this actually and replace SPR slots by sprite open square brackets I close square brackets. No, sorry, this is slightly wrong. Sprite open close brackets slot open square brackets again I. So what we're doing here is finding what sprite we have. The way we are doing this is, remember that inside our create event in define items, the sprite array holds the values of items.healthpotion, for example, and it is only inside our inventory that we say what slot contains what item, but we don't say what slot contains what sprite. So what we have to do is first of all get what sprite we have, hence the slot's I bit. This gives us what item we have, and then we use sprite of slot I in order to find what sprite the item contained inside slot number I is. So if I press save and press play again, what we should now see is our inventory with items in the slots. So we set slot 1 and 2, slot number 5. This seems to be slot number 5, something's wrong. We did say slot number 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's right, slot number 5 is this one. And this should be slot number 15. However, they're not centered. This is quite an easy fix. Of course, you may want to add code to actually detect the size of your inventory, but this is really quite simple use. I could show you how to do it, but I want to save a bit of time because this may be a long tutorial. I'm just going to add to each of the XX and YY a value of 32. Now, if you kept the original size without upscaling to a factor of 2, you would only use 16. Of course, this depends on the size of your sprites. I'm using a slot sprite of size 32 and an item sprite of size 16. Now, you may have noticed right now quickly that I didn't put them in the right place. It wasn't plus 32, it's actually plus 16. This is easily fixed and tested. If I press save and play again, as you can see now, our item is in the middle of our slot. So, we can't do anything with those items at the moment. So what we're going to do now is allow the player to move the items around inside the inventory. Quite an important aspect of your inventory. What you want to do quickly is we're going to need these values again, the 500 of the XX, etc. So what I'm going to do is quickly add a new variable inside initialize inventory and just go x_off is equal to 500. Now go back in here and go x_off instead of all the 500s we added in. The reason I didn't want to go straight with setting the variables and stuff is that I find it much faster to put in some random values in here in order to check that it is the right place. You can do things differently by setting the variable first. It doesn't truly matter so long as you set it as a variable somewhere along your workflow. So let's save it and go into a new event, which is going to be the global left pressed. So when we're going to click on the inventory, we want to figure out what item we just clicked on. And if there is an item, well, first of all, we want to define what slot we just clicked in. If there is an item in that slot, we want to take it out of the slot and, well, not really take it out. We want to tell them, we want to make sure we know that this is the item we're currently dragging. And then when we release the mouse, we want to figure out where it is we released the mouse and move the item accordingly if there's space, etc. So what I'm going to do is add in a piece of code. I'm going to first of all figure out what, oops, this is not supposed to be here, figure out what slot I clicked in. So I'm going to do var_xx is equal to mouse_x minus our x offset, and put this in brackets. So this is the x position of the mouse relative to the top left corner of the screen, and we're going to divide it by our slot size. So right now each of our slots is 64 pixels wide, div 64. Now again, if you had maybe changing size of sprites, you should use something to figure out what the size of your sprite is. Now we're going to do the same for y, var_y, var yy is equal to mouse_y minus y offset. Now we don't have a y offset, so I'm not going to put this in. Simply div 64. So now we have our x and y position, x and y slot. Now we need to change this into a simple, into just a simple single value. So the way we're going to do this is really quite simple. If I open this up, as you can see, if my mouse is in here, we want it to be 1, here 4. If I move downwards one slot, I add 4 every time. You know, here I'm at 3, if I move down one slot, I add 4, etc. So we can make a simple formula of it being xx plus 4 times yy. So each of these, you know, if I number these like so, I need to times all of these here by 4 in order to and add it together with these values to get these values. So I'm going to do xx, sorry, I'm going to do var underscore slot clicked is equal to xx plus yy times 4. And I'm just going to use brackets to make sure it is yy, that is times by 4, and not x plus yy. Alright, so now we know what slot we clicked in. What we want to do is display what slot we want to display that sprite where we clicked up, where our mouse is clicked. Now to do this, we're going to need a new variable. So let's go into create event, initialize inventory, and add in a new variable called mouse underscore slot. So this is our current mouse slot, and we're going to set this to no one. Now inside here, we're going to say that mouse underscore slot is equal to slot slot underscore clicked. So right now we're saying that inside our mouse slot we have whatever is inside the slot we clicked. And now we want to clear the slot we clicked of the item we clicked on. So we're going to say slot underscore clicked is equal to no one. Let's press OK, press save. If I press run the game, it won't work. First, what I have to do first is actually draw what I drew. So whatever I'm clicking on, I need to have drawn on the mouse. So if mouse underscore slot is not equal to no one, draw underscore sprite for x. So our mouse slot sprite, so sprite mouse underscore slot, comma 0, comma x and y will mouse underscore x, mouse underscore y. X scale and Y scale will be 2 just for YouTube's sakes. Rotation will be 0, color is C white, and alpha is 1. Press OK, save it, press play, and what we should see is that everything's working like before, and if I click on this, the rock is staying where my mouse is. However, I can't seem to drop it anywhere, and that is a problem. Also, another problem is that right now I'm holding a rock. If I click the mana potion over here, my rock disappears and I'm now holding a mana potion. And if I click in any random slot, I'm losing my mana potion. What we want to do is close this and add in a new event. Mouse, global left released. Here what we want to do is simply place our item back into the slot. And we're going to say, first of all, we're going to copy our code in from global left pressed to calculate our x and y coordinates. So we're going to copy the var xx var yy bit, copy this, paste it in our global left released, and now we're going to say if we also want to calculate what slot we're in, so we're going to copy this as well, var slot clicked, here you go, like so. And now we want to say if slot underscore clicked is equal to no one, so if there is nothing inside, slot clicked is equal to mouse underscore slot, and mouse underscore slot is equal to no one. Another change we have to do, well, so actually I'm going to go through this code really quickly, really quite simple. If slot clicked is equal to no one, so if there's nothing inside the slot we clicked, slot clicked is equal to mouse slot, put whatever we have in the mouse slot inside the slot clicked, and then make sure our mouse slot contains nothing. So the second thing we have to fix is that now if I'm holding an item and I click on another item, I will pick up that other item. So let's go back to global left pressed. What we want to say is if mouse, we're going to say if mouse underscore slot is equal to no one, do all of the code below. So we're just going to surround it with an if statement saying that, asking to see if mouse slot is equal to no one. Press play, and now we should have it all fixed, and we should be able to drop items. So here's my inventory again. If I click on the rock, as you can see it's moving, I can keep it pressed to place it, and if I let go, it will slot it in a slot anywhere I want. If I try to slot it where there is already a mana potion, it's not going to let me. I can click and click and it doesn't do anything. I have to place it inside another thing by simply clicking again. And it is working really nice. However, there may be a problem. If I try to place it outside, it will land in a random slot. It's actually not random. It just means that since I'm much further, he will add a lot more code. What we want to do is stop this from happening. Say I click, for example, because this will also work for clicking. If I click right here, as you can see, I am grabbing the blue one. I click a bit over, let's see, here I believe I'll grab the rock, and a bit further along I'll grab this item over here. So we need to fix this. And it is really quite easy again. All you have to do is make sure our mouse is inside our inventory. So let's add an AND statement to both of our first if statements. And mouse underscore x is greater than x off, and that our mouse underscore x is smaller than x offset plus our width, so slots underscore, no sorry, inventory width times 64, which is the width of one slot. Now we need to do the same, now we also need to check the y, so and mouse underscore y is greater than 0 because that's our top most points on our screen, and that mouse underscore y is smaller than slot number divided by inventory width, which gives us our inventory height. Let's add a bracket over here too. So now we have inventory height, and we want to times it by 64 because that's the size of one slot. So to recap, we have mouse is greater than x offset, so and mouse x is smaller than x offset plus inventory weight times 64. So our mouse x value is within the x range of our inventory, and with mouse y we make sure it's greater than 0, which it will always be because we're not moving our view in this example. And mouse y is smaller than the slot number divided by inventory width, which gives us our inventory height, times 64, in order to get it into pixels. Same with global left release. So I'm just going to copy this code over here, all this top line, go into here and paste it over here. So we want to make sure that we only copy the mouse parts, not the other part. And we're just gonna put brackets over here, like so, to be consistent with all the brackets. Now if we save it and press play, we shouldn't be able to click outside of the inventory anymore. See, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. It only works, see, I can let it go here, it doesn't work. I have to be inside the inventory for it to do anything. Actually, apparently not. Our y value doesn't seem to be working. So let's just quickly find where the problem may be. And fix that as soon as we can, because it's not entirely ideal to have it not work. So we want to make sure that mouse y is smaller than our slot number. I'm not entirely sure why this isn't working, and it may be this is interesting, because it was supposed to work before, and it certainly did work before. So I'm going to spend a bit of time debugging this because it worked in my other example I put together before doing this video, and I'll be right back. So I found out where the bug was coming from, and it was actually quite a stupid error on my part. As you can see right here in the if statement, we're checking for slot clicked to be equal to no one. However, we got an error from that, and I thought the error was coming from this line over here, and it was actually coming from this line. That is because this could also be out of bounds, because you'll check this argument before checking all of these. What we can do is make sure that inside our global game settings we use short circuit evaluations, which mean that we can actually take this piece of code over here, cut it, Control X, and place it right at the end over here. Simply take the and put it in front. And now he will check all of these before mouse X, mouse Y checks before doing the slot check, which means that if we are outside, he doesn't have to do a slot check in order to go on. So we're going to press save, and as you can see now, we should have everything fixed. So as you can see, I can't do anything here, and no errors are given. Perfect. However, we still can't do much with these items. What we'd like to be able to do is, for example, use them. So what we're going to do is create a bunch of scripts to be able to use each of our individual items. So I'm going to add a nice and easy script. First of all, let's create a script right here and call it scr_use underscore item. Actually, not call it item, just use health underscore potion. And what this script will do is, as the name suggests, uses health potion, and it's going to do it's going to take a few arguments. So I'm going to use /scr_use underscore health underscore potion, health underscore potion, and we're going to say it needs just the inventory slot in which it was in. So I'm going to call this inventory slot. What this potion is going to do is, first of all, return health to the player. So I'm going to do obj underscore player dot HP plus is equal to, let's say it returns out of 115 points of health. And then we can we could either leave it like that, or we can make it so that the health potion gets used, because that's what would normally happen. So we can go obj underscore player. No, sorry, we don't even need it. Sorry, we need to say that slot argument 0, because that's the slot number we have, is equal to none. So right now this will use up the potion inside our inventory slots. Let's press OK, press save, and now what we want to do is add in some code inside our obj inventory to be able to use that potion. Add an event, mouse, global right pressed. Now we're going to copy the code from global left pressed again. So as long as we're not holding anything and we're inside the thing, we're going to copy all of this code over here. So including var xx, var yy, and var slot clicked. Place it against our right pressed, like so. And we're going to close up this statement and say that we use our item. Now, in order to use our item, we need to know what our item has for a script. So we're going to go inside the create event, initialize inventory. No, sorry, define items. Sorry, and we're going to go script items dot items dot health underscore potion. And we're going to make it equal to scr underscore use underscore health, and we can probably fill it in potion. Next, we need to do the same for all the other ones, but we don't have the script for them yet, so I'm going to make them equal to no one. However, right now they all say sprite instead of script. So I'm going to copy this and paste it over here. So now what we have is script items.healthPotion is equal to scr_use health potion, script items.mana potion is equal to no one, script items.poison is equal to no one, and script item.rock is equal to no one as well. save all of that, and go into the write pressed event. Now we can start using our item. So we're simply going to say script underscore execute. Actually, first of all, we need to check whether it has a script, because we used no one for a few of them. So if script, yeah, slot underscore clicked is not equal to no one, we want to use script execute. So indent it, and script execute takes one argument, which is our script. So let's just copy this over here, script slot clicked, like so. And then we need to give one argument, which the script takes. Remember, if you open this up, we said it took the inventory slot, which is slot underscore clicked. Actually, sorry, it's just slot clicked. Just slot clicked, like so. Press save, and now if we press play, we should be able to use up our health potion. So right now, as you can see, our health potion is right in the center. If I right click this, maybe I'll move it here, right click it, it moves up, and our potion gets used up. Now, what we can do is duplicate this and rename it to use mana potion, and go objplay.mp plus seek to 15, for example. And inside our create event in define items, we can go script items.mana potion is equal to str underscore use underscore mana underscore potion. As you can see, this system becomes really quite powerful, because we can have a whole different set of scripts for different kinds of items. You see, I can't use a rock, but if I use a mana potion and health potion, they both go up. Now, there are a few things with our system right now, is that most inventory systems allow you to have more than one of the same item inside your slot. We only allow for one item. So what I'm going to do now is show you how we can do it so that we can have multiple items inside our inventory. And the way we're going to do this is by creating more scripts. One of our scripts is going to be called scr underscore add underscore item, and this script is going to take multiple arguments. The first one being our slot, the second one being our item, and that's it. What it will return is it will return whether it managed to put the slot inside it or not. So it will return if successful, return true if successful. So that if there isn't space in the inventory for that item, we don't want it to be successful. Now, we have this script, however, our system doesn't currently support multiple items. So we're going to keep our hands off this and go back inside our inventory and go inside initialize inventory. And now we have slots, and we're also going to add over here we have slot here, and we want to change it to have slot underscore, let's call it number. Actually, we already have slot number. Slot underscore n I is equal to 0. Now, right here, we also have slots. However, there are containing items, so you want to say slot underscore n 0. It's going to be having maybe 5 mana potions. Slot 1, it's going to contain maybe 15 rocks. Slot 5 will contain only 2 rocks, and slot 15 will contain 6 health potions. Now I did forget something, it should be slot underscore n. So let's go back to all of the newly added variables and add the underscore n at the end, like so. Press OK, save it. And we want to add a new font as well, because we want to draw text. Now we want it to be quite small. Change the size to 5, maybe a little small. Actually, let's keep it with 12 for now, because we are making everything twice as big. To save this, go to draw GUI, draw inventory, and we're going to go right next to our draw sprite X of the slot sprite, draw underscore text at the XX, X offset plus XX times 64, YY times 64, string of our slot underscore n, and our value. Our value will be slot n I, because we already determined this before. So this will draw the number of items we have in that slot. And if we press play, we should be able to see how many items we have in the slot. However, it's being drawn too small and without our font. That is quite simply because we're not using draw underscore set underscore font. We call it font 0. Also, we're going to make it text white. So draw underscore set color C underscore white. I've pressed save and play. We should see the number of items we have in that slot. However, it still isn't big enough. This doesn't seem to be right. Let's increase the size to 24, maybe a little big, to 20. That should be much clearer. It's always hard when dealing with text because you're never sure what size it's going to be on screen, really. So here you go, we can see how many items we have. However, there's a problem. When I'm moving my items around, I can really quickly create more items because we're not moving how many items we have at the same time. As you can see, if I move it here, this slot contains 2 items. If I move it here, this one contains 0 items, and this one contains 15 because that's how they started off at. And that's quite a problem. Quite an easy fix, however. What we can do is go into create event again, initialize an inventory, go mouse underscore slot underscore n is equal to 0. Now, inside our left press event, we want to say that mouse underscore slot underscore n is equal to the slot n of slot clicked. And inside our, just underneath, we want to say that our slot number of slot clicked, so the slot we clicked in, has now 0 items. And in the left released, we want to say that slot underscore n of slot clicked contains mouse underscore slot underscore n amounts of items, and that our mouse slot now contains 0 items again. Let's try this and see if it works. If everyone thinks it goes according to plan, I can now pick up 6 items, place them here. This now has 6 items. If I move this like so and place these here, there's still 6 items, not 15. So we can now successfully have multiple items. However, if I try using my health potions, I'm suddenly using all of them at once. This is not what we want. So, how are we going to do this? First of all, we're going to change str add item in order to make this work. After that, we're going to make exactly the same code but reversed to subtract items. So, what we do is, first of all, check if the current slot contains either the same item as we do or no items. So actually, before we do this, I do want to change this slightly differently. We also want to say item number to know how many we are going to add. So we're going to say if slot argument 0 is equal to no one, or, so let's add brackets around this to make it one statement, or slot argument 0 contains the same item as we do, so argument 1, then we can do it. Otherwise we can't. So if we can do so, what we want to do is slot argument 0 now contains the item we're trying to add. So if it contains nothing, it will now contain the thing we're adding. If it already contained what we're adding, if we make it equal to what we're adding, it doesn't really change. So we can say that slot argument 0 is now equal to argument 1. And we can say that slot n argument 0 plus is equal to argument 2. So we add the number of items we're adding to that slot. Otherwise, and we return true. We say that we managed to add what we wanted to. Otherwise, else, we want to say that we want to return false. We just didn't manage to add it. It just didn't work. Now we're gonna what we're gonna do is press save and create a new script called scr underscore take or remove items. Remove item. This is also going to take a few arguments. The first one being the slot, so actually being the slot. The next one being the item. Actually, we don't need to know what item it is. And the next one being the number of items we're removing. What we're going to say is if we don't really need an if statement, all we need to do is slot underscore n argument 0 minus is equal to argument 1. So we remove argument 1 number of items from slot number argument 0, and we're going to say that if slot underscore n argument 0, if that is equal to 0, then we no longer have an item in here. So slot argument 0 is equal to no one. Save this. So what we do now is inside our use health potion, instead of setting slot argument 0 to no one, we're going to say scr underscore remove underscore item. And we're going to remove it from slot argument 0. This is why we have inventory slot here. And the number of potions we want to use at the same time is 1. So we're just going to remove one of them. We're going to actually copy this and paste it inside our mana potion user scripts. So just paste it over this, like so. Save it. And if I press play now, what we should do when right-clicking the item is only use one of them at the same time. So here I have 6 items, right-click it, only 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I can do the same with the mana. However, there is still a slight problem with our system, is that we have 17 rocks in total, but I want to have them all in one stack, but I can't seem to do so. To do this, we have to quickly go to save, is use our neo scr add items script. So I'm going to go left released, and where it says and slot clicked is equal to no one, I'm actually going to remove this like so, and instead I'm going to go here and go scr underscore add underscore item, the slot being slot underscore clicked, the item being whatever we're currently holding, which is mouse underscore slot,
and the item number being mouse underscore slots underscore n. However, right now, however, if it SCR add item will only work if the item is the same or there is no item in the current inventory slot we're clicking in. So we only want to remove whatever is in our mouse if SCR add item returns true. So I'm going to go if SCR add item, and here I'm going to add brackets so that I only clear whatever is in my mouse slot if SCR add item returns true. Press OK, save it, press play, and now we should be able to do exactly the same thing as before, unless I get... Oh, right here, I added this semicolon, take it away. It's an if statement. Yeah, so we should be able to do the exact same thing as before. However, we should also be able to stack items together. So you see, I can still move my items around. If I try to put these together, it doesn't work. However, if I take my 15 rocks and place them here, I now have 17 rocks. It works perfectly. Now, this is quite nice. What we're going to do now is just show how, again, easy it is to expand this system. I'm going to duplicate use mana potion, and I'm going to call this use poison. And poison. And instead of obj per HP is going to be minus equal to 15, as well as his MP. Maybe you know, it drains both mana and HP, like so. I could do that. And now if I go inside and create events, all I have to do to tell it what to do is saying script obj poison is equal to scr underscore use underscore poison. And of course I need to say that I currently have some poison on me. So I'm just going to change this one over here, slot 5, to hold poison. Press save, press play. Just to show that, you know, you can do whatever you like with this system. If I right click this, I'm now losing stuff. If I right click this, I'm winning stuff. However, this is not quite finished just yet. There is one last thing I would like to show, and that is how you can make it so that the player can pick up some items. There are a few ways you might want to do that on the, you know, the non-inventory side of things. The way I'm going to do it is simply going to create an object, call it obj underscore pickup underscore, let's say stone. Let's say you can pick up stones on the floor. I'm going to give it the item stone rock, item rock sprite, and that's basically it. I'm just going to press OK, place some in the room for now, like so. And now what we need to be able to do is have our have a new script that will pick up items. I'm going to call it scr underscore pickup. And what we want to do is go through all our slots and simply try to add an item. So what I'm going to do is for I is, well, I'm going to do so, well, I'm going to paste this here and define the arguments first of all, because we should always do that when creating a script. We want it to have the item and the number. And what we're going to say is with our inventory, obj underscore inventory, for var I is equal to 0, I is smaller than our slot number, increment I. What we want to do inside a for loop is go scr underscore add item inside slot I with item argument 0, with item number 1, because we're only going to pick up, argument number argument 1 for pickup number. And we're going to go, oh, actually we're going to say if we manage to do this, then break the loop. Press save. Now inside the pickup stone, let's add an event, collision with obj player, add some code, and simply do scr underscore pickup
items dot dot rock number. Let's say you only pick up 1. Okay, save, press play. And what would happen now is whenever you walk onto a rock, a stone, it will fall into your first available inventory slot. Here you go. Now what I forgot to do is make it destroy itself, but obviously you can figure out how to do this. But when I walk onto these, or add some, if I place these over here, will now fill up the next inventory slot, like so. I can move these away and put this instead, walk over it again, or go to the next available inventory slot. So this is it for this tutorial. If you don't want to have it so that you can pick up an infinite amount of rocks, simply make it destroy itself on collision. You should be able to figure that out. Alright, so I've been Felix from GMWolf. If you enjoyed this video and found it all useful, please like and subscribe, there will be more. And I'll see you guys next time.